Hello, YouTube people! Welcome to the second episode of how to create the golden age style of music. You're going to be hearing lots of influences from so many different composers from the 70s, the 80s, even the 50s actually. You know, there's a little bit of some nuggets in there. So I'm not going to say where I got all my influences from, but if one does strike to be very, Silvestri-like or John Williams-like, then, 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to be right. Today, basically, it's just like a nice little introduction to the string writing. I'm going to take you through the process on how I split up all the parts, how I thought about it. I'm not going to get through everything because, it would be here, for a seminar. It'd be like a whole day's worth of little nuggets of knowledge. But I'll go through the main things that I thought about. And then we'll move on into how then I decided to orchestrate it and what libraries I used and a little bit of the automation. Okay, so I'm not going to do any more talking. Well, I'm going to do a lot more talking, but I'm not going to do any more talking for the intro. Yeah. But before we start, please like, subscribe, and we'll get on with it, shall we? Okay, so here we are in Logic, and as you can see, we've got my piano reduction at the top muted. I'm going to unmute that now because I'm going to solo that so you can hear exactly what we did last time. If you haven't seen the first one, then go ahead and check it out. But essentially, I'm going to show you the main themes. Okay, so we came up with this. Yep, so then that's a little bit of a filler kind of thing. So I wanted to have some main themes, stuff that if we were to take this to film, then we would have lots that we could play with, but then have a little bit of connecting tissue. And that little bit that you heard there was the connecting tissue, or the underscore, as you say. Okay, so this is the next theme. A little bit more triumphant. So it's like the A theme, but it's like an A2. Okay, so it's a little bit more developed. Not quite as staccato, I guess. Okay, and then we've got this lovely little piano-y kind of thing, which it might stay piano, might not, who knows? Okay, you caught me. That one's definitely inspired by John Williams, isn't it? But most of the other ones, they're not inspired by John Williams. I've tried to keep it as diverse as I can, and I think then this is just a development of that idea. Okay, so interesting chords there. This bit, actually, I went away and I thought, you know what? It's all very diatonic. Yeah, I've changed keys and whatnot, but it's all kind of staying in the same area as I thought it might need to be in. And actually, in the golden agey kind of style, that's not what really happens. They add these interesting chords, usually inspired by Shostakovich, just like taking those flattened third intervals, and instead of just jumping up to the interval, they make a whole chord out of it. And those chords are generally made out of further intervals, either like perfect fourths like you'd hear. Okay, right, so this is the next theme. Again, lovely piano kind of theme. This one was very, I was in the Superman kind of Williams / Elfman kind of vibe. You'll hear that in the piano. So this is definitely going to be a piano theme, but I have put some connecting stringiness to it. And then right back into the main theme. Boom. Okay, okay, so we've got that. You can see lots of automation that's going on in the string part, but before we get to that, let's just mute these piano parts. I'm just going to press play. I'm going to let you listen to it, and then we'll go over it. See it on the other side. Nice classical perfect cadence at the end. So yeah, that is it. As you can see from the automation, lots of chaos. So yeah, that's my first tip, I guess, is that when you're doing your automation, make sure that you're not just having the same different instrument just following the same line. Yeah, you're going to want to, especially when you've got multiple lines, have flowing lines that interweave. So you can hear that sometimes I really want that high violin to take center stage, and sometimes I want it just to hold back and say, whoa, hold on, wait a minute, let's put the second violin to start, because the second violin is actually just mirroring it an octave down. So if you've got too much of that high stuff, then all that other stuff, it's not going to have as much contrast. Okay, back over here. Okay, so first of all, let's just look at a little bit of part writing. Okay, so what I'm actually thinking is this. Yeah, so I don't actually want my parts to move in the same direction. I don't want thirds or whatever to actually, you know, be the things that are moving in step. So I don't want this. I don't want that at all. In fact, I'd much prefer that. Yeah, so these parts are moving. Yeah, so that is much more pleasing to me. And it's a very classical style. So this is, in terms of part writing, this is what I would say would be really good, a good thing really to get into the habit of. Is, yeah, you don't really need to know your theory for this, but you know, it does help to say, okay, if I've got two parts and they are moving pretty much like this, you can't hear that, but it was a C and an E moving up in thirds, okay, an octave apart. Duh. Okay, so first slip of the day, never mind. Yeah, so, you know, that's what you want to do. If instead of having that in octaves like that, that's good actually. That's a good technique. If you have got thirds, then they can move in octaves, especially here. So I've shown it here. This is these are thirds, but they're in octaves. So I'm not saying don't do that. But what I am saying is when you're actually going to see where your parts are going. So say here, we've got a fourth, yes. So we've got a fourth, a G and a C, and then there's an A here. So the C is technically moving down to B flat, and then the G is moving up. So we've got major second, so 2 semitones, and then 3 semitones. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so you know, minor third and a major second. That's the gist. So what you don't want is you don't want 2 major seconds going up, 2 major thirds all the time. We want variation in the way our parts are moving. Let's look somewhere else. So you'll probably see that a lot better here as well. So here you can see that I've got thirds here, a minor third going up to a fifth, and what I'm doing is I'm making sure that they are moving away from each other. Yeah, if they can't move away from each other in both parts, then I'm thinking, okay, at least that's going to stay stagnant. It's going to stay where it is. Again here, I'm thinking, because this is just a vamping kind of section, what I was thinking was, okay, this part is staying still, this part is moving away. And this, even though this is multiple notes, this is still seen as a pedal tone, okay? So instead of just holding down and having a pedal for like a big pad sound, this is still considered a pedal because it's holding the same note for either a bar or more, yeah? So there, it's a long pedal. This is probably a short pedal and a short pedal there, okay? This, again, this is moving in fifths. This is because of the part. The part is strong. It's a very strong part, okay? So actually, is it in fifths? So a sixth there. And then we've got E flat, so sixth down. Okay, so that's actually really good. Yeah, so if you are going to move, yeah, instead of it just being in thirds like this bit all the time, I have got these parts in sixths, okay? And there's a rule of thumb that I'm going to just throw out there now and say that if you can, try to keep your parts in octaves if you really want the melody to be quite strong, okay? So there are parts in this piece that I haven't done that, and right now I'm crying. I'm crying inside because essentially it's the melody isn't strong yet, and you know, I've done it deliberately. So this part, for instance, you'll hear that the top 2 violins, the top parts, they aren't actually playing the melody very strongly. Okay, so you can hear, you know, the violin does come out quite a bit, but because if we look at it, starts off really strong, one line, then it splits, okay? And it is intentional because here, this bit here isn't supposed to be strong. This, I've got ideas that this is going to be a horn part. So this is going to be a string part. This is going to be on the French horn. And then here, the French horn is going to be fading out. So as you can see in my automation, I've preempted this and said, okay, right, I know that the horn is going to go out at that point. So I want this to duck down as well. Okay, so I've got that in a note somewhere as well, just in case I forget. So in a later video, if you see that I have not done this, you'd be like, oh, Jeff, what do you think you're doing? That horn part's supposed to go down. Okay, have no idea why I just went into a really bad Cockney accent. So now let's look at libraries. So everything from here to here, all of these, they are the Spitfire Studio Strings, stuff that I always use. Really love it. The rest are new libraries, so I'm getting used to them. Start off here with these, the string flautando and the strings harmonics. They are from the original series from Spitfire. You know what? I really love them. If you haven't got them, then shame on you. No, they're really good. They are really, really nice. So generally what I would have done beforehand was I would have used the Studio Strings flautando to add a little bit of that rich, warm, airy, harmonic-y kind of sound, and then added the harmonics on top of as well. I can do that with this originals patch now, and it actually sounds a little bit better. Okay, so I'm going to solo this so you can hear from here. And you'll just hear it's really, really floaty. It's lovely. And it doesn't have, there's like a mid build-up that happens in a lot of Spitfire string stuff. It doesn't have that. So that's it, very quiet. I think it actually gets a bit louder by here. Okay, so you can hear that's lovely. Let's just play that part again, but I'm just going to solo the harmonics as well, because if you really want your stuff to sound really lush and as if it's, you know, you're just looking out to sea and it's just delightful, and, you know, then add harmonics to the top of your parts. It just brings them to life. So let's take a little listen. I'll take them out. Add them back in. Okay, so you can really hear them, especially you can hear the harmonics by here. They almost whistle by there, which is so cool. Yeah, but apparently these are taken from Albion 3. I want to say it's 3, don't think it's 2. Yeah, so, and then here, these string longs, these, I don't really want to take them off the sign play, but these are from the Inspire range. So I've slowly started to buy the Inspire Orchestra because I've really liked what it sounds like, to be honest. It's kind of like a mix between Spitfire and Audio Imperia, and Audio Imperia has that lovely mid-range and Spitfire doesn't. No, it does have lovely mid-range, but there's a lot of room in Spitfire stuff. So I end up having to take a lot out. Where these, I don't have to do that. I have to take a bit out maybe on the actual string bus, just from everything being compacted. And I haven't done that yet because it's not the mixing phase. You know, I will say to you now, do not, whatever you do, start the mixing phase before you finish. I know some people who do it who have just got into a routine of doing it, but it's so much more beneficial for you if you just compartmentalize your process. So you have your draft stuff. So, you know, creating your piano reduction, or, you know, it's a piano reduction, or it's, you know, adding your instruments that you want as well. So if you've got a horn part and you know what the horn part's going to be, and then you play it in on the horn, great. That's still part of your scratch, if I may. So yeah, you know, start with that, then go on to your arrangement phase. After your arrangement phase, then, you know, revisit automation. I would say do your automation as you're going. This automation I've got here, you know, it's a good starting point. But I know that when I add horns, when I add percussion, when I add woodwinds, when I add everything else that I've probably not thought of yet, it's going to start drowning out parts, and there's going to be more automation tweaks that I need to do. Yeah, so even though I've done it now and I've made it sound very realistic, there's going to be more stuff that I need to do in the future. Okay, so those are the new things that I've been using, but I'll let you listen to these string longs because they are just delightful. And when we're doubling with ensembles, what I tend to try to tell everyone is that just focus on the things that you want to be strengthened. You won't want all of the parts that you have to be, you know, all put in the strings long ensemble, because then you're going to get so much mud. All your parts are going to be together and squashed, and it's, you know, it's not going to be very easy. You're going to end up having to do a lot of EQing to get that mid-range to sit well. Whereas if, you know, you just put your high end, your low end, and maybe one or two parts in the middle, a little bit like I have here. This is just high stuff. But then essentially what I've done is every now and again, when I wanted a part to come out a little bit more strongly, so I wanted this to come in, because this is the it's a really high cello part, and the cello part in that section is fairly prominent at times. Yeah, and also I've started using the so for these cello legatos, this is the tableau strings, and I absolutely love tableau strings. Or I love the cello, and I definitely love the viola. The violin is a little bit iffy. It sounds great sometimes, but there's just so much vibrato in it that it kind of makes it useless every now and again. So yeah, you know, for the majority of the time, I love it. Haven't been able to use a lot of the stuff from orchestral tools for about a month and a half because the sine play's been down, so coming back to that has been lovely. Okay, and you know, this is as well, so you just heard the longs, but this is the shorts from the same library. Yeah, very wet, but in a good way kind of thing. So, you know, beforehand, I've not used other libraries. I've mainly used Albion for that really wet sound, because, you know, that's what Spitfire do well. They do wet stuff amazingly well, and then every now and again they just come out with a corker like studio strings. So because I've shown everything else, I might as well show you the studio strings. Beautiful library, really, really good. And my top tip that I may have given before, but you'll hear it again anyway. So is that when you're mixing libraries, at least with one of them, try to mix a dry library with a wet library. Just because the dry library will literally just sit with near enough anything. So yeah, that's my top tip. And yeah, I hope this was useful anyway. The next one that I'll be going through will probably be the horns. So I'll do exactly the same. I'll probably be tweaking the automation as well. I'll just give you a quick look at the automation. But you can see modulation. I don't bother with the expression. I just use the modulation. It's much better for me at least. You know, a lot of people, there's nothing wrong with using your expression. But your expression is doing exactly the same as what your volume would pretty much do. So generally what I do is I'll just do the automation on the volume just to make it easier for me, and I know exactly where I am there. But you can see my modulation here, literally just trying to be as dynamic as I possibly can for the majority of the notes. And you can see we've got this arc here. A lot of people will actually just put a dot here, and a dot here, and then have a big triangle. I don't think that really sounds as natural as doing it like this, but it works for some people. So if that works for you, cool, go for it. And then here you can see all of the volume automation that I've done. There's an awful lot, to be honest, in there. You can just see where I'm bringing things out here, like here, and then I'm pulling them back. Yeah, so sometimes I don't want flotando at the forefront. It's just adding an extra element, dynamic contrast. But then for other ones, when I want it to be really lush, I've brought it up. And that's essentially what you want to do. You want to have quite a few libraries that you can actually use for specific things. I know, as I say a lot of the time with my good friend Sam, he's great at mixing libraries, probably much better than I am. He's also got a lot more libraries than I have. But you know, it's all about that. It's all about mixing these things, and then that makes it more unique. And you know, this setup that I've got now is very, very scoring stage type of sound. It's not very British at all. It's more of an American sound. However, you know, it kind of sounds like that, even though I'm using Spitfire, which is a British company. You know, and then I'm using Orchestral Tools, which is a German company. And then, yeah, I'm getting a kind of American sound from it. It's, you know, that's because Orchestral Tools use a scoring stage and Spitfire don't, but I'm using their smaller ensemble, so it kind of does sound halfway in between that. I'm getting that dry, lovely tone, though, through it. But yeah, I'm going to stop talking now because this could go on forever, literally. Yeah, so I hope that this was really useful for you. Hope I haven't waffled too much. And I will see you in another future video, which will be in about a week and a bit's time. I've had a few weeks off because it's just been crazy in my life at the moment. Yeah, so just readjusting to lots of things. You know, when somebody throws you another thing to juggle and then all of a sudden all of the other balls that you had just dropped on the floor and you're like, oh my goodness, what do I do? So you pick them up and then you learn to juggle with the extra ball. So that's been me for the last 2 weeks. Am I there yet? No. But we will get there. So thank you very much anyway, guys, for watching, and yeah, I'll try to be more respectable in future. Take care. Bye.